not necessarily that debt is bad, but that it's not like spiritually evil, but it's also not smart in the sense that it does tie you to your lender. So Dave himself quotes a lot the Bible verse that says the borrower is slave to the lender.
Yes.
And so when you borrow, then you are energetically, again, tying yourself to whomever you are borrowing from.
Hello, my friend. Welcome to Bold Conscious Connections. So this channel is dedicated to exploring the journeys of visionary leaders, entrepreneurs, who really dare to follow their dreams, their passions, and create really impactful businesses. So if you're looking to become an entrepreneur or otherwise seeking inspiration to elevate your career, well, you're in the right place, my friend. So on this channel, what I do is we delve into strategies, mindsets, stories behind the success of those that have done this before, like I have. Well, today's guest is someone I know quite well. Or at least I think I do. He's 27. He's a Duke alumnus, an entrepreneur, a teacher, not just by profession, but by nature. His business is called Elite College Tutoring. He helps college students not just pass, but they actually enjoy some of the toughest subjects out there, like calculus, physics, chemistry, and I'm sure there's a lot more than that. But that's not the full story. This is someone who less than a couple of years ago was on the brink of being broke, is what he tells me, questioning whether he'd made the right bets, whether to start over, whether he even had it in him. And now he's building a business with discipline, clarity, systems, and the service is at the center. Is that correct, Nicholas? As with many of my guests, his entrepreneurial path is inseparable from his personal one. And in this case, pretty spiritual, I'd say. And he's also my middle son. Welcome back to this podcast, Nicholas Rohan Panjwani.
Thank you, good sir, host and father.
Well, you were on this show a few years ago in a very different time, but now you're 27, have already got some years under your belt. Would you be okay with some rapid fire at the end of some of the questions that I have for you?
Of course.
Okay.
I'm prepared for the unexpected.
What do you want to be called, Nicholas?
Yep.
Yeah. So let's start with something obvious, because you said you were close to broke not too long ago. I didn't know this. Is my son, but I didn't even know that. So take us to that moment. What happened and what was breaking you apart?
Well, I know I never expressed this, but there's not just one time. Let's put it that way. It was a repeated cycle at the time of more or less irresponsibility combined with, I would say, to some degree, incompetence, but it was definitely a lack of focus on money as an object, believing or thinking or hoping that it would come from somewhere, using credit cards to pay for things when I couldn't afford it. And student loans were due, the credit card bills themselves were due. But it wasn't until my car got repossessed that I actually had a wake-up call.
Oh, wow.
So that was early September of 2023. So coming up on 2 years. That was the real wake-up call where I actually started implementing changes into my day-to-day life. And the single habit that I began September 9th, I still have it on record, where this habit began. It was checking all of my bank and credit card / other debt balances from that point going forward. So I can say that I was over $55,000 in debt with $43 of cash, and all of my credit cards were maxed out. So it was between a car, student loans, and credit cards, $55,000 with $43 to try and pay it off.
So what'd you do?
Well, to a significant degree, I was fortunate enough to be supported by some family to help get out of the car mess at the very least, and buy a little bit of time. But it was shortly thereafter that I properly started working with the Boulder Ballet as a massage therapist.
Mm.
So within a matter of a couple weeks, I was having some money coming in. So disaster averted. But more or less, again, from that point on, that became a daily practice of it being like right in front of my face, the problem being in front of my face instead of avoiding it for years at that point. So when that cycle began of getting right up to the point of bankruptcy until I decided to figure something out, that was pretty much starting in 2021.
This is after you graduated this September 23, obviously, from Duke.
Yeah.
Wow. So when did you realize that money was not the only thing you needed to fix?
Well, I think money, as is commonly said and heard, that it's a representation of energy.
Yes.
But it was more or less the energy of I wasn't spending my time and my energy focused on how I could be of value to other people, except when I needed it, so to speak. So it's only when I really needed to pay off something that I started then thinking about how can I actually be of service to other people.
Well, this is a lot deeper than obviously this. So I think, let me go dig a little bit here. By the way, your shirt says debt normal. Well, debt is normal. Could you just, what is that really? Why would debt be normal?
So this is a Dave Ramsey shirt.
Ah.
So going from that point, that rock bottom, I actually didn't properly start finding and following Dave Ramsey stuff until April of the following year when I was filing my taxes.
But just what's the shirt say? Debt is normal?
Yeah, debt is normal, be weird. So
be weird. So explain that.
Yeah, after getting into Dave Ramsey stuff, I've become very much of the same notion that not necessarily that debt is bad, but that it's not like spiritually evil, but it's also not smart in the sense that it does tie you to your lender. So Dave himself quotes a lot the Bible verse that says the borrower is slave to the lender.
Yes.
And so when you borrow, then you are energetically, again, tying yourself to whomever you are borrowing from.
Isn't that the truth?
So
having been in debt before myself, I know, and it still bothers me about some things. Anyway, so returning to learning, I know that we know that you quit Duke almost at the end of your 4 years, and you dropped out, but then you went back.
But maybe not everyone knows.
Yeah, I know. So I'm saying we know that, but you went back after a 3-year pause to finish your degree in biomedical engineering at Duke, not out of obligation, but by choice. Why?
Well, in my heart of hearts, I knew I would finish it, but there was not necessarily the same urgency around it that it seemed like others had on my behalf. But it definitely came to a point where at the time, the right people around me kind of encouraged me in such a way that I was open enough to just getting it done. And I'll definitely say that I did not expect how much of a weight off of my shoulders it was when I did finish.
So you also mentioned massage school. People may not know that you went to massage school after you dropped out of Duke. What has that been like as an experience?
Well, since the time I was maybe 13 or 14 years old, I had this clear desire in my mind of wanting to become a master of the human body. And so going into college, the form that I thought that was going to take was first and foremost biomedical engineering, and then going into med school and continuing that. And at the very least for biomedical engineering, I was disappointed with the lack of what I felt was a true understanding of how the body worked. And I was pleasantly surprised with the sense of mastery that I gained over both my own physicality and understanding how the body works in general, and learning how to treat and help other people's bodies and pain through going to massage therapy school. But I would say also that almost unbeknownst to me consciously, I kind of had a knack for body work before. I think
you always had that gift since you were a baby or child.
Yeah. Or it was just as a function of practice and first standing on your back and then going on my knees on your back and pressing your back and all the different stages involved with that. So I had practice.
So do you consider yourself having become incredibly disciplined personally, financially, professionally? Was there a turning point when this was not just a habit, but who you became? I mean, you're still very young, 27. So
I would say that the practice of no matter what, every day, checking my finances, and no matter how good or bad I felt about it, being willing to face the reality and however I felt as a result, that has just become part of me. I don't question whether I do it. And so then over time, especially as I have started to make more money and allowed myself to think more and more into the future and wanting to provide a stable foundation for what I hope will be a lifelong marriage in the future to the woman I'm dating right now.
And by the way, you're in Helsinki, Finland right now, just for listeners.
I'm in Helsinki, Finland, in a dating relationship, but we have separate apartments. We're doing it the kosher way.
All right. We don't need to know all those details. But okay. So what is this about money everybody's is constantly obsessed about? Are you obsessed about money?
To some degree, I would say so. I would say it's gone from a kind of one polar extreme to another, which is characteristic of me, I would say no matter what I'm doing, I tend to do it to the extreme. So it definitely has gone to the point where every single transaction, I'm hyper aware now of like my financial state and like all of the implications, maybe again to an quote unhealthy degree, but I think it's a better obsession than obsessing over not paying attention to it. But as far as answering your question I think it becomes a proxy for security in culture that is materialistic by its kind of worshiping, I would say. But
you condone that?
I wouldn't say I have the moral perfection to judge it, but I would say definitely not to put that as the highest thing in your life.
Of course.
But that, to have, if you can find your security in God and worshiping God above all things, then as Jesus says in Matthew, I don't know if it's 5 or 6, but basically do not be anxious for the morrow or tomorrow, that tomorrow has enough to worry about for it, or basically tomorrow will worry about itself.
Yeah.
So in a way, maybe it contradicts everything I've been saying about keeping control over money. But if you know where your security is coming from, because even in all the times that I was on the verge of bankruptcy, I did have an underlying faith in God, but I don't think that they have to be necessarily opposed to each other.
Sure.
I think that you can make plans that are strategic and conservative with your money that don't rely as much on hopes.
Yeah.
While
I think the key is that you can't live on hope, but you must have some discipline, not about money, but it's about living. And
right.
I mean, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but that's kind of what I'm
I
hearing.
think it's controlling your behavior, because for the most part, the problem is it's not the money, it's spending money that you don't have. So that's where the debt piece comes in. If you're careless or on the verge of reckless of how you're spending your money when you know you don't have it on some level,
sure,
that's when you are almost going beyond trusting God, then you're testing God.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, let's talk about your business origin story here.
Yeah.
So you launched Elite College Tutoring last year, I believe.
I've been tutoring since I was a senior in high school.
Yes. Yeah.
But it's only, I would say, this year that I've kind of branded it, or starting to brand it, into Elite College Tutoring. Mm-hmm. I've hired some coaches myself to get help with streamlining and organizing my process into something that over time can become more replicable and potentially teachable to other people, that kind of help multiply the impact and effect that I can have. Because I do believe that, as you said, I am a natural teacher. So a lot of the things that I've been doing with students for years that have really helped them and helped them to enjoy these subjects that most people think of as boring.
Or complex.
Yeah, and both. Yeah. To explain it in a way that really breaks it down and to make sure that it's really sinking into the person. So I've gotten help to articulate some of those things and to put things into a system. And that's something that continues to evolve. I'm very focused on documenting all of my processes now so that as soon as I do bring on a bigger and bigger team, that I can maintain the quality of the service as the number one priority.
So what's changed most about your approach to tutoring in this past year? Because, I mean, how do you think about the transformation that you're offering now versus when you started?
Yeah, the offering now definitely is about, it's caused me to think about what are all the things that could get in the way of somebody getting a 4.0. That, for me, that's the goal and that's the ideal of how does somebody get a 4.0? Well, you eliminate all the things that are not geared towards getting a 4.0. So the first thing that I created, the first tool that I created that as part of this new program is eliminating distractions. It's kind of the foundation for, it's like, how does one go about it? You have to take stock of what you're spending your time on. Very simple. It can apply to anybody. What are you spending your time on?
You did on the money thing, same idea, right? Analogy.
Exactly. What are you spending your money on? What are you spending your time on? All about, yeah, you have a certain amount of resources, in this case, time, that if you're not, as Dave Ramsey says, a budget is telling your money where to go so that you're not wondering where it went. I think it was actually, he says it was a John Maxwell quote, so I'll quote it correctly. But same thing with your time. If you don't stick to a schedule and budget your time in that way, you're going to be wondering where your time went instead of telling your time what to do.
So you're focused on first-year college students. Is that correct?
I would say, and this is in large part based on my own struggles and experience making that transition into college, that those are the people that could really benefit from a lot of these ancillary tools that help you get a 4.0, great grades, is that so much of the structure in high school and all growing up is kind of fed to you. You have almost the unspoken structure of a family, of the family that you live in, that you're held responsible to not going out and staying up late, ideally, hopefully. But when you're around other people that have rebellious tendencies and you yourself have rebellious tendencies, then it's quite likely that you're going to act in a manner that is not aligned with getting the best grades that you can.
Yeah. So where do you see most students get stuck? Is it just calculus, chemistry, or something else, or in themselves, perhaps?
It depends. It 100% depends on the student.
Yeah, of course.
So
I said most students.
Yeah.
The
biggest thing is showing up regularly, whether it's for a tutoring session or just first and foremost to class, and turning in assignments. All of the little details like that. It's like, when I say it like that, if you're not showing up to class and you're not turning in assignments, how can you possibly get a good grade?
Right.
And it is that simple on one level, but there again are all the distractions, all the things that cause downstream effects for those things to become quite commonplace, where you're hungover on a Friday morning, go out on a Thursday night, you have an early morning quiz even, and you either sleep through it or you're hungover and you have no idea what's going on, and then you fail the quiz and you say, oh, well, it's fine. Well, that one's going to be dropped. So I'll say that's what it is. It's making excuses and blaming circumstances or blaming your teacher for why you're not doing well.
Right. And so what's a topic you love teaching that people think is really hard, complex, but actually reveals something beautiful, wonderful?
So as a few years ago now, I was doing a deep dive into the origins of calculus because I wanted to be an even better tutor. And that's when a whole bunch of insights unlocked for me, even though I already understood this stuff and was teaching it at a high level. Diving into the origins and learning about Newton and Leibniz. So I'll say definitely calculus as a whole is something that I appreciate from both an intellectual and academic sense of how these great minds conceived of it in the first place, and how so many students, and maybe we all in general, take for granted the usefulness of calculus in terms of predicting future outcomes and analyzing different conditions of the present day. All of the technology, so much of it has its roots in calculus, and yet so many of the methods and kind of the tricks and tools of calculus are taken at the surface level and just memorized, as opposed to having this real curiosity about how it works and
real life,
and how it benefits.
Yep, that's awesome. So, of course, I have lots of memories about all that, and go, why don't we look at things fundamentally rather than memorize a formula of how to solve this problem, as opposed to like, why is that important? And how does it fit into real life? Good. I'm glad you have that.
I think I'll say one more thing is that calculus, I think, can almost create this overlay. It helps you. It does help you almost have a graphical overlay in your mind on top of reality to be able to break it apart. And to one of the topics within calculus that I really enjoy teaching is optimization, because that does have a lot of real world applicability.
Yep.
And there's a lot of business calculus students that I've taught over the years, people who maybe aren't as math minded by nature. So they're not engineers, so to speak. They're business students, but optimization has a lot of applicability to economic cases. And to be able to connect some of those dots in a way that's, again, repeatable, but also dives into the underlying behaviors.
Right. So, let's talk about how students find you now. I mean, tell us about how you're using, you said YouTube and School, SKOOL, and what are you building towards?
So just recently, I've started posting some content on YouTube. So you can find that at Elite College Tutoring or my name, Nicholas Panjwani. Both will show up. And then on, SKOOL.com, I have a school community.
Yeah, we'll put all the details, but I just want to understand how are they finding you?
For the most part, over the years, it's all been through word of mouth. So while I love the people I get through referrals, I also want to spread some more of my message out to more people rather than just kind of the one at a time, so to speak.
Yeah, of course. In the same boat. I want to scale. I cannot just be there for every single client per se, one-on-one. Yeah, and
it makes it so that more people can get the benefit of and not suffer through another teacher that they don't understand. So
that's right.
If actually on my school about page, or it might even be somewhere on my school page, there's little quote bubbles that are meant to represent students saying, wow, that makes so much sense, or my teacher didn't explain it that way. Like that, those are some of the most common responses I get when I'm in a session with somebody, and those are, as a teacher, the most gratifying things to hear, where
exactly,
you are witnessing somebody's mind expanding, and something that has frustrated them for so long now be fully reconciled. And that is just, it's heaven. It's honestly heaven.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Beautiful. So what's one lesson that took you longest to learn, but now feels essential to how you run your business and your life?
I would say both the time and the money piece of treating really time as your most valuable asset and resource. Maybe kind of paradoxically, because if you treat money as the most important thing, then you end up perishing and throwing away your most precious resource, which is your time and your focus and your brain power. And I think that's at the root of, again, also why college students get distracted, is because they don't value their time or don't realize that just one night out that can impact an entire week. And that's if you take steps to remedy that in the future. Not just the next day, but then you're spent catching up on things and it has a ripple effect in that way. So I guess, yeah, just to close that, it's viewing yourself and your time as valuable, and you have to put guardrails around yourself in order to make sure that you're staying nourished and healthy by the things that are genuinely good for you.
Yeah, we didn't talk about food and nourishment, but your workout routines and all, which are very important to you. I know that that's critical as well. But
it's come back to being important.
Yeah.
I neglected it for a while.
So if you lost it all again, if everything disappeared tomorrow, clients, cash flow, or other tools, what's the first thing you do differently this time?
So what do I have and what do I not have?
No. Like if it all went away. Clients disappeared, cash flow went away. Somehow.
So I'm at $0.
Whatever. What's the first thing you do differently if you had to start over tomorrow?
I would give more away for free. I would just go immediately to helping people and not ask for anything except for feedback and testimonials.
So, in other words, you're saying that money is not important now in the new way of doing it?
No, I guess what I'm saying is that the currency of a good review, because, okay, I'll frame it this way. Very large proportion of my business today, right now, all started with one raving fan client.
Correct.
And that family, because it's not just a client, it was genuinely like a family that I developed relationships with every single person in the family. And they treated me in kind as such, that they believed in me because of how I treated them, I would say. Because I took the time to just be present and patient when I was working with them, and that I did show up with wanting to give and to serve.
Oh, so you would do the same thing again? You would not trade anything? Okay, good.
Probably. Just like starting small and focus to give the most value possible to a very small number of people, and then letting that snowball take over of genuine word of mouth because you've done a good job.
Awesome. That's beautiful. Yeah. All right. So rapid fire. So
ready.
Bring this to a close. Okay. So what's the first thing you do when you wake up in the morning?
I drink water and go to the bathroom and brush my teeth.
No, I just, okay, fine. I wasn't thinking TMI.
After that?
Yeah. No, that's okay. So drink water is a good one.
Yeah.
What's one equation or concept that applies to life, not to school?
I'll give my favorite equation. It's e to the x.
Explain that.
It's my favorite function because at every point along the curve, the value of the function is equal to the slope of the function. And to my knowledge,
the equation again?
E to the x, e to the power of x.
Of x, okay.
And to my knowledge, it is the only function that operates that way at all points. The other one would be y equals 0. That has a slope of 0 and a value of 0 at all points, but that's not as interesting.
Maybe you should go to 0. The history of, I think, told you the history of 0.
Oh yeah. I still haven't done that, but that'll be next on the list. The reason I think it applies to life is because it has that idea of compounding built into it. As here's a little bit of calculus for you. The limit, or a little pre-calculus, the limit as x approaches negative infinity of e to the x is 0. So as you're at the very beginning, you're really, really close to 0. And it's the slope, the rate of increase is also very close to 0, therefore. But as you get close to x equals 0, your slope is now 1, and then everything past that is a higher and higher slope. So it's an exponential function, meaning that, again, it's
right. It's not linear.
It takes off like a rocket.
Exactly.
But exactly as it gets close to x approaches negative infinity, the slope is close to 0, so it looks like nothing's happening. So if you're starting there, if you're starting at ground zero, then it may take a really, 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 really long time for you to see any traction. But then as soon as you do start to have traction, assuming that you don't go the other direction, things will begin to take off.
Because most people quit because they don't see success in the first few days, weeks, months. Okay. Who's been your greatest mentor outside the classroom?
Outside the classroom. My mind honestly went to both you and Alex Hormozy.
Ooh. Okay. Because I'm dad. Okay.
If you could teach rapid fire, I'm happy to expand.
That's good. No. If you could teach only one subject forever, what would it be?
Calculus.
Okay. What's one topic students fear but should not?
Organic chemistry. Or some interesting topic in calculus.
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
Whatever topic. But again, I'm rapid firing. Doesn't mean you have to give an answer and stop. If you want to explain, go ahead, please.
Also, sometimes people want one-word answers, so I haven't been following that anyways. But
what's your anchor when things get? I'm going to use the word chaotic, but you can substitute a curse word there.
Prayer, the Bible.
Okay. What are you learning right now that feels like it's humbling you?
Finnish.
Explain.
The language. Oh. I've been, ever since that I knew I'd be coming here, I've been studying it a lot. And a lot is over an hour a day on average.
Oh, wow.
And that's a conservative estimate. And yet when I hear people speak here, I have no idea what they're saying whatsoever.
But are you getting conversation a little bit or no?
The most conversation is like in a grocery store. Mm-hmm. So I had a little bit of an awkward encounter today where I was wondering how much it was. And he said a number and I know the numbers, but I have no idea what he said because it's a lot faster and sometimes they shorten things that in spoken Finnish that you wouldn't expect.
All right, last question then. If this phase of your life had a title, what would you give it?
The one I just came out of or the one I'm entering right now?
Where you are.
That's
whatever comes to mind.
Dependent on God. I would say that.
Okay. Well, I was going to say, it's close to the finish. And then, all right.
Just getting started.
All right. Nicholas, you've changed a lot since you've been on this podcast. Of course, you and I talk a lot. But if you could sit down with the version of you of, let's say, 4 years ago, the one doubting his choices and questioning his path, what would you tell that guy?
Get to work.
Get to work.
Yeah, just do something. Just do something.
Okay. Any last minute advice for people listening? I mean, a lot of them are corporate executives that they're listening to this, or perhaps their children might find this beneficial. So maybe in some ways, is there something you want to leave them or their children who are in college now or going to college?
I would say, as somebody who's been in kind of this period of uncertainty and change and growth through the college years, that at the end of the day, you'll be fine. But at the same time, you will want to remember this time as one where you put forth a lot of effort in whatever you were doing. And in some ways, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what it's in. Because the more you grow, the more you evolve. Assuming that where you end up is wanting some kind of business or independence or controlling your own time in that way, that everything looks kind of similar no matter what path you take.
Great. Well, in the vein of gratitude, as you know, I always end with, is there something that you discovered in this call before I say goodbye to you and say thank you so much for being on the show today?
I want to thank you for being patient and present with me and telling me things that I needed to hear, even if I didn't want to hear it or couldn't hear it at the time. And I have learned a lot from you and have been given a lot of courage by you to go out and do my own thing. And so thank you.
All right. Well, thank you again for being here. And I'm sure that people will find this discussion fascinating. And so many nuggets in this conversation as I reflect back on this.
Thank you all for watching. Love you, Papa.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, my friend, for tuning in to another episode of Bold Conscious Connections. If you really enjoyed this episode, give it a thumbs up, please, and subscribe for more inspiring stories and insights from top entrepreneurs and leaders. So that button is right below here. So join our vibrant community of individuals who are out there making a difference. Okay? Stay tuned for more amazing conversation that will inspire and empower you. And until next time, remember, live boldly and consciously, my friend.